Have you ever felt exhausted trying to be liked by everyone around you? That constant pressure to smile, to agree, to bend yourself into shapes that aren't truly yours, just to avoid conflict, just to be accepted. If you have, you're not alone. Many people live their entire lives trapped in this invisible prison of approval, giving away their power in exchange for temporary peace. But here's the truth. The more you try to please everyone, the more you end up pleasing no one, including yourself. You begin to lose your edge, your identity, and even your respect. Does that sound familiar? Have you ever noticed how the harder you try to gain approval, the less people actually seem to value you? This struggle isn't new. Centuries ago, Niccolò Machiavelli, one of the most controversial and strategic minds in history, warned about the danger of seeking universal approval. His words were not meant only for kings or princes. They were written for anyone navigating the complex reality of human relationships and power dynamics. Machiavelli understood something profound, that chasing acceptance is one of the fastest ways to weaken yourself. Respect, not constant approval, is what gives a person influence, authority, and freedom. Think about it. When was the last time you said yes to something you didn't want to do, simply to keep the peace? Maybe you agreed to a favor, avoided voicing your opinion, or stayed quiet when you knew you should have spoken up. At first, it feels like the safer choice, but over time, those small compromises build into frustration, resentment, and a quiet sense that you've betrayed yourself. And the irony is, people rarely reward your efforts to please them. Instead, they take your compliance for granted. Have you noticed that? Machiavelli would argue that this pattern is not only destructive, but also dangerous. Because when you try to be liked by all, you end up being trusted by none. You become predictable, easy to manipulate, and forgettable. That's why he insisted that it is far more important to be respected, even if it means being disliked by some, than to be endlessly adored by everyone. It's a principle that still shocks people today, but if you think about it, it makes perfect sense. Respect creates boundaries. Respect builds strength. Respect lasts, while approval fades the moment you stop giving people what they want. Now, I know this can sound harsh. Nobody wants to be hated. Nobody enjoys conflict. But the question is, do you want to live a life of fragile popularity or one built on unshakable respect? Because you cannot have both. The path of pleasing everyone may feel easier in the moment, but it's a trap that leads to weakness, not power. What you're about to discover next may surprise you, because Machiavelli's principles on respect, authority, and personal power are not just for rulers of the past. They are blueprints for anyone today who wants to live authentically, strategically, and with true influence. So, stay with me until the end, because once you understand why pleasing everyone is a dangerous illusion, you'll begin to see how freedom and respect are built in a completely different way. And maybe, as you've been listening, you've already started to recognize moments in your own life where this pattern has played out. Times when you silenced yourself just to keep others happy, or when you gave more than you wanted only to feel unnoticed afterward. If that resonates with you, I'd love to hear your story. Share it in the comments below, because your perspective might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. This channel isn't just about me speaking into the void. It's about building a space where we can explore these ideas together, and your voice matters in that conversation. If what we're uncovering here speaks to you, take a second to like this video. It might seem like a small gesture, but it tells me that these reflections are striking a chord, and it helps this message reach more people who are searching for the same kind of wisdom. And if you find yourself wanting more of this kind of content, lessons from thinkers like Machiavelli, Jung, Nietzsche, and others who teach us how to live with depth and power, then subscribe and join this community. Your presence here is what makes it possible to keep creating, to keep growing, and to keep spreading these ideas to those who need them most. Because the truth is, this isn't just about philosophy or psychology and theory. It's about real lives, real struggles, and real transformations. The more we engage together, the stronger the impact becomes. And as we continue, you'll see even more clearly why the pursuit of universal approval is one of the greatest illusions we face, and what it actually takes to step into a life of respect and inner freedom. Many people convince themselves that people-pleasing is a safe strategy. On the surface, it feels like a shield, protecting you from conflict, rejection, or the sting of disapproval. When you nod along, when you sacrifice your own desires, when you give up your voice to maintain harmony, it feels as though you are buying peace. But deep down, that peace is fragile. It cracks the moment you realize that avoiding conflict comes at the cost of your own authenticity. Every time you silence your opinion, every time you suppress your real emotions just to keep someone else comfortable, a small piece of your identity dissolves. Over time, this creates a quiet but heavy frustration, a sense of living behind a mask that slowly erodes your inner strength. The illusion of safety is seductive. You tell yourself, if I just keep everyone happy, then I won't lose anyone. I'll be accepted. I'll be secure. Yet the truth hidden beneath this illusion is far more brutal. When you live to satisfy everyone else, you lose respect, not only from others, but from yourself. People begin to sense that your words carry no weight because they're tailored to please. The moment instead of expressing conviction, and inside you feel the sting of betrayal because you know you are abandoning your own truth. This is why people-pleasing is not safety, but self-sabotage. The comfort it offers is temporary, like a bandage over a wound that keeps bleeding. The more you rely on it, the more trapped you become until even small decisions feel overwhelming. Should you speak honestly or keep quiet again? Should you choose your own path or bend once more to someone else's expectations? The longer you play this game, the more your energy is drained, and the harder it becomes to recognize your real voice. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because the cost of people-pleasing doesn't stop at frustration. It shapes your entire mindset. It influences your decisions, and it leaves a lasting impact on the way others see you. It's not just about avoiding arguments, it's about how much of yourself you're willing to sacrifice in order to avoid them. If this is connecting with you, leave a comment right now and write, "This makes sense to me." Machiavelli observed something that most people are still afraid to admit. The pursuit of approval is a weak foundation for any life built on strength, influence, or impact. He believed it was better to be respected, even feared, than to chase the shallow comfort of constant adoration. At first, this might sound harsh, even cold, but think about it carefully. Approval is fleeting. It depends on moods, opinions, and shifting emotions that you can never control. One day people cheer for you, the next they turn against you, and if all your energy is invested in being adored, you collapse the moment the applause fades. Respect, on the other hand, is built on something solid. It comes from consistency, conviction, and the courage to stand for what matters, even when it makes others uncomfortable. When you choose respect over approval, you draw a line in the sand. You communicate without words. I cannot be swayed by every passing opinion. I stand firm. People may not always like it, but they notice it, and in the long run they trust it. This is the paradox Machiavelli revealed. Being loved by everyone is impossible, but being respected by many is within your reach if you dare to stop bending under pressure. Think about leaders, mentors, or even friends you admire most. Is it because they tried to keep everyone happy? Or is it because they carried a clarity that could not be ignored, even if some disagreed with them? Respect has weight. Respect endures. Popularity is like a shadow that vanishes when the light changes. The truth is, prioritizing respect requires a mental transformation. It forces you to step away from the easy path of saying what others want to hear and move toward the harder path of aligning words with values. This alignment may not win you universal approval, but it creates authority, presence, and a reputation that cannot be shaken overnight. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject because Machiavelli's principle is not just about power in politics or leadership. It is about the personal decisions you make every single day and the hidden cost of chasing approval when respect is what truly matters. If this resonates with you, write in the comments, "Respect over approval." The paradox of trying to please everyone is that in the end, you satisfy no one. When you bend in every direction, you lose shape entirely. Imagine someone at the center of a room, constantly turning from one person to another, nodding in agreement here, offering reassurance there, softening their words so they never offend. At first, it might look like harmony, but soon those watching begin to wonder, what does this person really believe? Where do they truly stand? The more you bend, the more invisible you become, and instead of admiration, what you earn is suspicion. People don't trust those who shift too easily, because deep down, we all know that conviction matters more than comfort. Think of a friend who always says yes. At first it feels flattering, even supportive, but after a while you start to question it. Do they genuinely agree, or are they just avoiding conflict? The truth is, when someone refuses to take a stand, their words lose value. Approval given too freely feels empty. Respect, on the other hand, is forged through clarity. Even if you disagree with someone who stands firm, you know exactly who they are. And paradoxically, that consistency earns more loyalty than endless compromise ever could. This is the paradox Machiavelli understood centuries ago. He saw that leaders who tried to win every heart ended up losing their authority. They became puppets, pulled by the strings of opinion, until nobody trusted them to make real decisions. And this isn't just about politics. It applies to relationships, careers, and everyday life. When you attempt to avoid disappointing anyone, you slowly disappoint yourself, and in the process, people begin to lose faith in you. The lesson is striking. Pleasing everyone is a mask that eventually cracks. Beneath it, others see confusion, weakness, and hesitation, and ironically, the very approval you were chasing slips through your hands. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because the power of boundaries and the ability to say no are at the heart of building respect, and Machiavelli's wisdom reveals why refusing to bend is often the key to true strength. If this makes sense to you, leave a comment saying, "I choose respect." Machiavelli recognized that real authority is never born from endless agreement. It comes from boundaries. A strong leader is not the one who tries to absorb every request, every demand, and every opinion. Power emerges when limits are drawn with clarity and held with consistency. Without boundaries, respect dissolves, because people instinctively know they can push, manipulate, or control someone who never says no. This principle is not just about rulers or politics. It's about the way we all live our daily lives. Think about how often the word yes slips out of your mouth before you've even considered what it means for you. You say yes to favors you don't want to give, to projects that drain you, to conversations that waste your energy, all because you fear disappointing someone. At first it feels easier, but slowly, yes becomes a habit that erases your individuality. You become known as agreeable, but not reliable. Present, but not powerful. Each time you surrender your boundaries, a piece of your authority vanishes. Now imagine the opposite. A person who knows when to say no, not cruelly, not with arrogance, but with firmness and clarity. When they agree to something, you know it's real because their word carries weight. Their yes means something precisely because they are not afraid of no. People listen differently when boundaries are in place. They respect the person who values their own time, energy, and principles because it signals strength and self-respect. Machiavelli's lesson is sharp. A leader without boundaries is not a leader at all. And in personal life, the same rule applies. Your ability to set limits is not selfish. It is the foundation of your integrity. By refusing to please everyone, you transform yourself from someone easily overlooked into someone whose presence commands attention. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because the illusion of being loved by all hides a dangerous truth. No matter how much you give, someone will always disapprove. The question is whether you choose to be drained by it or empowered through respect. If this resonates with you, leave a comment saying, "Boundaries create power." The idea of being loved by everyone is one of the most persistent illusions in human life. Psychologically, it feels comforting to imagine that if you behave kindly enough, sacrifice enough, or silence yourself enough, you can win universal approval. But this dream is impossible because every human being carries their own expectations, projections, and hidden frustrations. People don't see you as you truly are. They see you through the lens of their own desires and fears. And because those lenses are different for each person, there is no single version of you that can satisfy them all. You might try to be agreeable at work, always helpful and never confrontational, only to find that one colleague views you as weak. You might try to be generous in a friendship, giving time and energy, only to discover that another friend thinks you are overbearing. The same action can be praised by one person and criticized by another, because people interpret everything through their own internal narrative. If you chase approval in this chaos of perception, you end up chasing a ghost that does not exist. This is why the pursuit of being universally loved is not just exhausting, it is endless. Every time you adjust to win one person's favor, you risk losing another's. And even when you succeed for a moment, the approval you worked so hard to earn can vanish overnight, replaced by disappointment, misunderstanding, or envy. When your identity depends on these shifting opinions, your sense of self becomes fragile, and your confidence cracks under the weight of constant judgment. Machiavelli understood this long before psychology gave us the language to describe it. He knew that people project their needs onto leaders, expecting them to embody traits that no single human can ever consistently provide. And when those expectations are inevitably broken, admiration turns to criticism. His advice was simple but profound. Stop trying to be universally loved, because the pursuit is a trap that strips away your power. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because the courage to be disliked is not only a principle of strength, it is the beginning of living authentically, without the chains of endless approval. If this makes sense to you, write in the comments, approval is an illusion. The courage to be disliked is one of the rarest forms of emotional strength. Most people spend their lives bending, adjusting, and reshaping themselves to avoid criticism, as if rejection were the ultimate failure. But the truth is that rejection is not a sign of weakness. It is often proof that you are finally living in alignment with your own values rather than someone else's demands. When you allow yourself to face disapproval without panic, you unlock a kind of freedom that approval can never provide. Instead of being controlled by the opinions of others, you begin to control your own path. Think about how heavy it feels when you carry the constant fear of being judged. Every word you say is filtered, every decision second-guessed, every action measured by how others might respond. That weight is suffocating. Now imagine dropping it. Imagine speaking what you truly think, choosing what you truly want, and standing by it even when it makes others uncomfortable. That is not arrogance, it is authenticity. And authenticity, though it may attract critics, also inspires deep respect from those who value strength and clarity. Machiavelli would argue that this courage is the foundation of real influence. He observed that leaders who feared being disliked ended up powerless because they allowed the fear of criticism to dictate every move. But those who accepted that disapproval was inevitable became stronger because they stopped seeking the impossible and focused instead on building authority through conviction. In daily life, the same principle applies. The more you practice sitting with rejection without letting it define you, the more resilient and confident you become. This courage transforms relationships, work, and even self-image. You stop living as a reflection of what others expect and start becoming a true version of yourself. And ironically, the more comfortable you are with being disliked, the more respect and loyalty you attract from people who admire honesty over flattery. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because courage is not only about facing criticism, it is also about using that authenticity as a strategy for influence, building a presence that cannot be ignored. If this resonates with you, leave a comment saying, "I choose courage." Authenticity on its own can feel raw, even uncomfortable, because it requires you to strip away masks that have been carefully crafted to earn approval. But authenticity without strategy can sometimes turn into bluntness that wounds more than it empowers. That's why Machiavelli's wisdom offers a powerful balance. The key is not cruelty, but strategic authenticity. It's about learning to speak with clarity, stand firmly by your values, and let respect grow naturally around the consistency of your actions. People can sense when your words are grounded in truth rather than performance, and even if they disagree, they recognize the strength behind them. Strategic authenticity means you don't swing to extremes. You don't hide your real self just to be accepted, but you also don't throw honesty like a weapon. Instead, you understand the impact of timing, tone, and delivery. For example, saying no is powerful, but saying it with calm conviction rather than bitterness creates authority rather than conflict. Sharing your perspective is valuable, but doing so with intention and respect ensures that your truth doesn't get lost in unnecessary hostility. Machiavelli would argue that influence lies in this balance, authenticity shaped by awareness of context. Think about leaders or mentors you admire. Chances are they aren't admired because they pleased everyone. They're respected because they were consistent. Their values were visible in the way they acted, in the choices they made, and in the boundaries they kept. That consistency builds a reputation, and reputation builds trust. This is the essence of strategic authenticity, aligning who you are with what you do and ensuring that the message is delivered with clarity. In your personal life, this can look like choosing honesty even in uncomfortable conversations, but doing it with the intent to build, not destroy. It can look like holding firm to your standards at work, not with arrogance, but with quiet certainty. Over time, people come to rely on that stability. They know exactly who you are, and that predictability, far from making you rigid, actually makes you trustworthy. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because authenticity backed by strategy doesn't just create respect, it becomes a daily practice of power that shapes how others respond to you in every interaction. If this makes sense to you, write in the comments, authenticity is power. The real strength of Machiavelli's principles is not found in dusty books or distant palaces, it's in how you choose to live each day. Applying these ideas in daily life begins with something deceptively simple, practicing the word no. At first it feels heavy, almost like a weapon you're afraid to hold, but the more you use it with honesty and clarity, the lighter it becomes. Saying no without guilt is not about shutting people out. It's about preserving your time, your energy, and your identity. When you stop apologizing for protecting your boundaries, you begin to feel a quiet confidence that others notice immediately. Next, it's about prioritizing respect in your relationships. This doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It means you care in a way that has depth. Approval often makes people feel good for a moment, but respect gives them stability. When you show up consistently, when your words and actions align, you communicate something powerful. You are someone to be trusted. Respect creates roots, while approval is only surface decoration. In friendships, partnerships, and even in work, people value the presence of someone who can be relied upon far more than someone who simply says what they want to hear. Finally, shift your focus from chasing short-term applause to building long-term trust. The quick reward of a compliment feels good, but it fades. What lasts is the reputation you create by standing firm in your truth day after day. Machiavelli understood that authority was not granted instantly. It was built patiently through consistency and courage. In your own journey, that means resisting the urge to please in the moment and instead asking, will this choice make me stronger tomorrow? These daily practices transform his philosophy into tools you can actually use. They aren't abstract theories. They are choices you face every single day. Each moment you choose respect over approval, you step into a life of greater clarity and freedom. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because when you weave these principles into your everyday decisions, you begin to see how they shape not only your relationships, but your entire sense of inner power. If this resonates with you, leave a comment saying, I choose trust. When you step back and see the pattern clearly, it becomes obvious that people-pleasing is not kindness, it's captivity. The endless chase for approval drains your strength, dilutes your voice, and leaves you invisible to the very people whose respect you long for. But the moment you stop trying to please everyone, something shifts. You begin to feel the weight lift off your shoulders, replaced by a deeper sense of power, freedom, and clarity. This is not about turning cold or shutting people out. It's about reclaiming the authority to live as yourself. That is how real respect is earned, not through endless compromise, but through the courage to stand firm. Imagine how different your life could look if your decisions were no longer guided by fear of disapproval. Think of the confidence you would project in your work, the authenticity you would bring into your relationships, and the peace of mind you would feel when you lay down at night knowing you lived honestly. That is the transformation Machiavelli hinted at centuries ago. Respect built on strength, not applause built on weakness. And here's the paradox. You will still attract admiration, but it will come from the right people, those who value your clarity instead of your compliance. Some will dislike you, and that's fine. Their disapproval no longer defines you. What matters is that the respect you gain is rooted in truth, not performance. That respect endures. So ask yourself honestly, are you ready to stop being liked by all and start being respected by the right people? The answer to that question could be the turning point in your journey, because the path of power and authenticity begins the moment you choose to step out of the shadows of approval and into the light of conviction. If these words connect with you, write in the comments, respect gives freedom. If you've stayed with me all the way to this point, it probably means something in this message resonated with you. And that's exactly why I'd love for you to join this community. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next conversations where we dive even deeper into the psychology and philosophy that shape a stronger, freer life. To mark that you made it here to the end, drop a comment saying, "This message was for me." It's always powerful to see who connects at this level, and your words often inspire others who are on the same journey. And if this conversation spoke to you, give this video a like. It's a small gesture, but it helps me know that these ideas are landing, and it strengthens the connection we've been building together. There's also another video waiting right here that continues this path of reflection. Click on it and keep going with me. You'll find it adds another layer to everything we explored today.